Hi there mate, how's it going? It's Benji here, and this is a breakdown and review of 1923 episode 2 titled Nature's Empty Throne. Let's begin our episode 2 discussion in Africa, where Spencer tries to fend off a leopard attack, which came as a surprise for him because he had already killed the only one he thought was present at the camp. So he stabs the second leopard after it jumps at him. He then tries to shoot it, but it is gone. It's not gone too far away though, because it latches on to one of Spencer's guides. The other guide and Spencer eventually kill the leopard, but the guide that got attacked suffers deadly injuries. Afterwards, Spencer finds a doctor to take care of his wounds as he doesn't want to deal with gangrene. He's angry at the camp's leader Richard Holland for not informing him about the existence of another leopard, and he notes that Holland did not say he was sorry. Spencer fires off a bullet close to Holland's head, and he forces him to apologize at gunpoint. Spencer goes back to Nairobi in the morning. In fact, that's why he doesn't do anything to Holland. He needs a ride, and at a hotel bar in Nairobi, a British lady by the name of Alexandra flirts with Spencer. Apparently, she and her friends wondered if Spencer was in fact the famous hunter they all heard about, and she was the only one bold enough to approach him. She talks about all of Spencer's famous kills, some of which are made up, and she mentions the one he killed with his bare hands. He wants to know if she believes everything she hears, and she says only when she wants it to be true. Spencer is confused as to why she would want that to be true, and she says for the romance of it. When he argues that there is no romance in it, Alexandra wonders why he would do it then, and Spencer goes, quote, "because dying is the most alive you'll ever feel," end quote. Alexandra asks him if he doesn't see the romance in that, and the voice inside Spencer's head is like, she's got a point. And they're about to kiss when Alexandra's friends take her away because guess what? She is engaged. This conversation further solidifies a point I made in my episode 1 breakdown about how Spencer constantly puts himself in the middle of wildly dangerous situations because there isn't anything else to do for him after tasting the sweet feeling of avoiding death and surviving during the Great War. He continues to chase that high. We later learn that Spencer works for the Protectorate of Kenya, and his next assignment is to hunt down a spotted hyena in Tanganyika, because that animal is causing trouble for railroad workers. Spencer's gonna head out in the morning, and he mentions this to Alexandra later that night, when she takes a breather from her engagement party and comes across Spencer at the bar. She has an adventurous soul, just like Spencer, and she regards her upcoming marriage as nothing more than a real estate arrangement. They almost kiss again, but her fiancé shows up just in time to prevent that. He cannot, however, prevent Alexandra from running away with Spencer the next morning. Spencer tries to warn her that where he is going is dangerous, and she goes, quote, "let's look death in the eye then, shall we?" end quote. This was an entertaining sequence, and what made it fun was the contrast between Spencer and Alexandra's levels of enthusiasm. Spencer has seen some things, which is why he looks indifferent, cold, stoic, while Alexandra hasn't been able to live the way she wants to, chasing adventures and putting herself in danger. So she comes across as impassioned, the opposite of Spencer. The combination of these two characters has made for some enjoyable TV so far, and I'm guessing that will continue to be the case. Meanwhile, in Montana, Spencer's nephew, Jack, is fine after a bunch of sheep herders shot at him at the end of episode 1. Jacob and company come to his rescue, they kill some of the herders, and after the herders yield, Jacob teaches Banner and his fellow herders a lesson by hanging them from a tree on horseback while their hands are tied behind their backs. Jacob talks about why he did this later on, saying that if you give a man enough time, he'll figure out his way out of anything, so he thinks some of them will make it. In fact, he hopes they do. Jack wants to know why, and Jacob explains. This ranch's greatest enemy is not wolves or drought or blizzards or Texas fever, it is other men. Because man will choose to take what you've built rather than try and build it for himself. That's why your enemy's fear of you has to be greater than their greed. Quote, "I gave those men a chance because I wanted them to tell the world what happened when they crossed me." End quote. So, do any of them make it out alive? Well, it won't surprise you to hear that Banner does. He gets a knife from another horse's saddlebag and cuts himself loose at night. But something tells me Banner has not learned his lesson, and he's gonna double down and seek revenge on the Duttons. Jacob and all the other ranchers move the herd further south, close to the park, where there's a suitable location with a spring feeding into a lake, so that's where the herd will stay. 3 cowboys will stay with them for now, while everyone else goes back home. In the meantime, the foreman of the ranch, Zane, carries out a task given to him by Jacob. Zane delivers all the sheep they got from the herders to the nearby Indian reservation, and they give Zane a gift for Jacob and tell Zane to thank Jacob because they needed this. Jacob kills 2 birds with 1 stone here. He helps the people at the res by giving them food and clothing material, while at the same time punishing the trespassing herders by taking their sheep to a place from where they can't be recovered. There's also a funny scene back at the ranch with Emma and Cara. Emma had always hoped that her son Jack's recklessness would be suppressed by his wife. Quote, "I was hoping his wife would take some of the fire out of the next generation." End quote. But after spending a few days with Elizabeth, Emma realizes that Elizabeth is gonna have the opposite effect. And Cara goes, quote, "It seems your son is marrying gasoline, my dear, and the fire will only get bigger." End quote. This Montana portion of the episode was fine too. I liked the fact that they showed us Jacob's ruthlessness as well as his mentoring of the next generation of Duttons. Cara didn't get too much airtime, but she made it count. Her lines are usually very fun to listen to. And yeah, let's continue with Teonna's storyline. At the boarding school in North Dakota, Teonna is punished by Sister Mary for speaking her native language. The tension builds up throughout the day and they fight yet again. And as punishment, Teonna is thrown into a solitary confinement box outside the school, as Father Renault cautions her not to use that language anymore. It goes from bad to worse for Teonna when she eventually gets out of the box. At first it looks like Sister Alice wants to help Teonna bathe, but it turns out she's got an ulterior motive. She enjoys doing it, if you know what I mean. And as if that wasn't enough, Sister Mary shows up and beats Teonna again, promising to kill whatever's left of her original identity if she ever attacks her again. We find out that Teonna is originally from Montana, where her grandmother Issaxche is trying to get her back home, which is a complicated task because she has to adopt Teonna to accomplish her goal. Teonna's mother has passed away and her father works the reservation herd, so he's away from home, which is why the government was able to take Teonna away. If Issaxche adopts Teonna, she'll be able to come back home because there's a Baptist day school only a quarter mile from Issaxche's house. But first Issaxche has to go in front of a judge in Crow Agency, which is the governmental headquarters of the Crow. It's one of those census-designated places. Overall, episode 2 was more of the same, which I was fine with because I liked the first episode. Alexandra is a good addition as she'll do something about Spencer's jaded nature, and maybe she'll be the reason Spencer goes back home at some point. Jacob is not pulling any punches and that's awesome to see. Teonna's grandmother showing up is crucial because now there's a sliver of hope in Teonna's storyline, which I think is absolutely needed. I'm curious to see what Banner is gonna do next, and that's about it. Be sure to check out my Dutton family tree video next. The link to it is in the description box. Like the video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. Take care and see you in the next video.